All right, welcome back to the show, everybody. Getting Past the Premium, episode 20, right, Big Al? And today we've got an exciting guest in Andy Grant, who is a strategic growth advisor with Leadership Resources. And, you know, it's similar to having Logan Berry on, where we focused on being an advisor to your client and only an advisor. And so it's really a good conversation on how he does that and what they do for clients. And I think there's a lot of applicability to our industry. So enjoy the show.
Welcome to the Getting Past the Premium podcast, where we focus on breaking down risk management problems bit by bit until we find a solution. If you would like to discuss anything you hear on GPP with us, please reach out using the links in the description. Enjoy today's episode.
All right, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. We're excited to kind of dig into what you guys do and how that applies to the risk management industry, because I think it's a lot of what we talk about wanting to get to in the industry is what you're doing on a daily basis with clients, right? So with that, you want to give kind of your background, who you are, and then who Leadership Resources is and what you guys do for clients.
Yeah, absolutely. So my background, I'm one of those typical people that specialized in psychology back in school, try to figure everything out.
Wait, Michigan State, right?
Michigan State. Very blessed to be a Spartan, and very blessed actually to take a course at one point, statistical psychology, and I had a professor by the name of Dr. Fred Oswald who was running the PhD program at Michigan State at the time, and it was the number one program in the country. And just getting exposed to some of the things he was doing in terms of performance and personality and different things really drew my attention. And I was able to explore that with sports and different things, and then continued on to grad school, and then took an opportunity, still not sure why, to move to Lincoln, Nebraska about 11 years ago and chase a dream of getting into a consulting firm, but building an athletics division as a part of that. And so I did that for right around a decade and focused in business education, but worked to grow and develop a sports division. And loved it, loved the team that I was a part of with that. And as I continued to grow, I was looking for that next challenge and connected with some of the leaders at Leadership Resources, and just really loved the core values and what this organization stood for, the clear vision that was provided, and how we wanted to continue to impact the Lincoln and Omaha community, and just take advantage of the opportunity to come in and help people be successful. And that's really what we focus on at Leadership Resources, is this idea of, strategy development when we think about leaders, and increasing accountability. And accountability is a word that people run from at times, but it's very beneficial when you think about understanding what success looks like. So it's really about helping people get where they want to go and driving the behaviors that do that.
Totally, yeah, because you were, at one point on the sports side, you were traveling all over the country working with some college programs and building programs for them, right?
Yeah. So the sports focus was taking me to California, to New Jersey, anywhere in between, cool Minnesota quite a bit. Very, very cool relationships that I still keep up today that were meaningful to me. But putting the focus back into businesses here in this area has been a special gift that I've been able to dive into.
Yeah, no, I remember talking about that.
On a normal Friday, we'd be fairly hostile to another Big Ten competitor. Yeah, but now that we just focus on volleyball here at Nebraska,
there you go.
Hey, basketball's coming up.
Yeah, that's true.
I can talk big right now. Michigan State's still undefeated this season, so we'll see how tonight goes.
Yeah, we're
that's the truth. So, kind of what we talked about in the intro and even a little before. You sit in a unique position, not so unique, but to folks in the risk management industry, it is unique. You're going in and you are being hired by companies to basically provide advice and advise them in a lot of different areas, which, we relate to the risk management industry, or we try to as much as we can. So maybe just dive into that a little bit more. Like what, when you're working with a business, what are you guys doing for that business? It's fair to say that you're helping them achieve what they want to achieve and goals and everything, but what's that look like tactically?
It's really about, I'll come back to the word accountability. It's about setting clear objectives. And so when I'll connect with leaders, whether it's CEOs, presidents, whoever's really leading that organization, and we're talking about their leadership team getting on the same page and understanding where they want to go together, it's pretty important, yet it's a struggle. A lot of times I'll ask leaders, where do you want to go? And we'll ask that to a group of 6 or 8 people, and give me your vision for the next 5 years in the company. Where do you think the organization is going? And the answer from everybody is different. And if it's different within that group, think about as it cascades through the organization, how different that vision's going to be for all employees. And the challenge is if you aren't working towards what the vision of the organization is, you're working towards what you think the vision should be.
Yeah.
And we don't have clarity around that. And that's a big challenge. And the other big challenge that we try to help solve is being able to come in and put a plan in place that builds off of that vision, but with tools and a set process, increases accountability in a way that we say, okay, how are we going to get not just 1 year down the road? How are we going to get 3 years? What does 5 years look like? Because I hear time and time again, I'll use the example. We go from start to end of year, and it's like, oh my gosh, you guys, we made it. Okay, we got through the year. Yeah. We made a little bit of money. We were profitable. Guess what? Let's try and gear up. Let's do this again.
Let's do a little better next year.
Yeah, and it's insane how often that happens. When we think about if we just knew where we wanted to go 5 years, 10 years, well then let's back into 3 years. 1 year out, what does it need to look like? Quarterly, what do we need to be doing? How do we really navigate this course that we want to have? So that's the objective from the strategy side at LR that I get to partner with and create relationships on and work with leadership teams to help them bring clarity to what that process looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we talk about that a ton. I mean, at the end of the day, on the risk management side of that, if we haven't identified where a company is going, what changes they're anticipating in the next few years, it does become really difficult, even from a product placement perspective, to be able to advise them or to be able to put the right things in place. And so I think that process is so important. But at the end of the day, clients don't have to hire you, right? Different than a lot of things in our industry, which we talked about before, is they got to buy insurance, right?
Yeah.
So, I'm just curious, again, your perspective on helping clients understand the value, the reason that they should bring you on. Because I feel like it's much different than what a lot of the risk management industry goes through when it comes to selling an insurance product or whatever.
Yeah, it's a growing focus. I mean, you can walk through any airport, or you can go online and pick up a podcast to listen to while you're driving in your car. You can download an ebook. This idea of leadership, success, it's written about and talked about everywhere. Yep. And it's what we're all chasing. But do you understand what that success really looks like? And for leaders, I was with somebody this morning as we were talking about how would we apply strategy to their organization. And the difficult thing they said is to do it internally, to lead that process poses its own issues because you're tied to where your thoughts and your objectives go. It's hard to get out of that day to day. So an advantage is having an outside voice to be able to come in and have a fresh set of eyes and be able to help increase accountability, but also be objective in that process. The other piece that I would go to is we're really selling the relationship. When we get to know leadership teams or we get to know those individuals that I'm going to be spending time with or other members of our strategy team that they're going to go spend time with, there's got to be a fit there. Totally. And we want it to be a connection. We want it to be a partnership. We don't want it to be something where we come in and we kind of give you some insight and things that you can't go apply. It's like going to a conference. You feel great. You walk out. And you avoid everything that was talked about.
Then now what? Yeah.
You go back to your normal life. Yeah. And so it's apply or it's avoid below the line. How do we ensure that they're applying those things? And it's that level of accountability and objectiveness that I believe we not sell, we bring through a partnership. And it's just being honest and transparent. I think it's living our core values at Leadership Resources as well. Being authentic, being better together, get stuff done. I'll use less intense language.
You can use the
get shit done is our core value.
Yeah.
And love what we do. And I think that passion and actually loving what we do and that opportunity to go help other people be successful, I'd say that's why people select us versus hire us.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been a big focus of building relationships.
Yeah.
You said a lot
I love
of
that.
super interesting things there, like select us, not hire us, and become partners, not sell them. So, again, like I think this is uber interesting when we continue to be on this theme of getting past the premium, right, and trying to become more of an advisor in the face of just a shitload of propaganda that says a company should do something other than that.
Yeah.
So how do you get a prospect that calls you on the phone, or you call them, one of the two, all the way through to yes, let's be partners and engage?
Yeah.
Like, walk me through what that looks like.
Yeah. At Leadership Resources, I'm blessed. We have an incredible business development team. You guys spent time with Jeff, who's one of my favorite people today. He is tremendous in as are all of our BD team members, at doing discoveries, at digging into what do people really need. We have products and services that we offer like most businesses, but it might not be right for everybody. Who do we say no to? And that took me time to get used to and learn and grow with. Back to when I was in the sports division of calling coaches and making cold calls and sending emails. I was rambling, I was going in and I was just throwing everything out, and it was so uncomfortable because I was like, look at all this great stuff. And even when I came to LR, I had to kind of recalibrate that. And when I just slowed down, and I would challenge it comes back to being authentic and just actually investing in who you're talking to and understanding what they need. When I go in and meet with these leadership teams and we're talking about is strategy the right thing for them and the process that we would put in place with them, I'm not worried about selling.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not right for them, please tell me.
Well, you're gonna figure it out.
Yeah, I'm not there to convince them. I'm there to share what we do and why I think it could be beneficial, if it could be to them. And if it works, let's rock and roll.
Yeah.
Let's go. Let's do what you want to do in your business because, I always bring this up. It should be fun. You're working on what's important to you, where you spend your life.
Yeah.
It should be fun to strategize and think about the future. Let's help you increase the accountability. If it's not right for you, then don't do it.
Yeah.
We have our Accelerate Leadership program that if I'm talking about that with people that I'm already doing strategy work with, it's not an upsell. It's something that I think might be beneficial. Let's have a conversation around it. But I've said no to people. I've had lots of people say no to me over the years.
And at that point, you probably you got to know them enough to really understand their problems. And when you really understand them, it starts to develop trust and everything else, so that when you can make a recommendation like that, you're right, it's not about the product. It's a sincere, hey, this would be beneficial for you.
It's being genuine, authentic, and wanting to help people.
Yeah.
I think as long as we focus on those things in the selling world, I never wanted to get into sales. I always want to be in, and it's a little corny, it's a little cliche, but build relationships.
Yeah.
Spend the time, be devoted, be a fan of who you work with. Care about what they're doing, where they're going, how they're doing it, and be available for them. We have so much benefit. I look back at a letter that I got from a mentor of mine back in Michigan, Coach Bates, who grew up across the street from me. And when I started this venture in athletics, he was one of my football coaches growing up, tremendous individual, tremendous family. His son has been an athletic director across the country at a couple different places. But he wrote me a letter and he said, I think you see that sports are truly about the right thing, and that is it's about people and relationships. And when he wrote me that note when I moved to Lincoln, that just really hit for me that, that's what it's about, but everything is about that. Mm-hmm. And if we put the focus on people and relationships, we can find the common ground to help people get better.
Absolutely. I mean, we use the term relationship all the time. How can you get to know your client, understand what they need without having a deep relationship?
Yeah.
And you said a lot in there that I think we've talked about on the podcast, because it traditionally in the insurance industry, risk management in general, those things aren't looked at. The discovery process, you don't have to go through a deep discovery process to figure out Do they need an insurance product? Because they do. It's by law or the bank is requiring them to or whatever. Who to say no to. I think that's an interesting one. I think that's just as important as people saying yes or no to you.
Yeah.
But it's never talked about in our industry. We just pull, hey, you need insurance? Come on in. Yeah. We got a product for you.
It puts you in a bad spot and makes you reflect on, do you have values and do your values align with your company's values when you're out selling? Because if you're just saying yes to everybody, and I get it, people have numbers they want to chase and revenue they want to bring in.
Sure.
But when I sat down with somebody at one point and they're kind of starting to tell me the right things, I want to grow, I want to build a team. And I said, okay, you want to build a team. How do you know you're getting the right people? How are we going to help you as part of this strategy get great people? And honest to God, that individual said to me, I don't want great people. I want people that are going to do what I say.
Oh.
And I'm like, red flag.
Yeah.
And then we started talking. We started talking about what does success look like. And I want to be known. I want people to say, do you know who that is? I'm like, you're not doing it for the right reasons. And not that we can't help you, but this isn't the right thing for you right now. And we can't approach a partnership like that.
Yeah.
One of the best partnerships I've ever built was somebody that said no to me. And those
are some of the best. Yeah.
Okay, not right now. I don't think this is right. And that coach and I have become great friends, and she's built an incredible softball program, but it took her time to realize, is this right? And it was keeping up a relationship that I saw as something that could be beneficial and helpful, and somebody that was doing things the right way. I think the other part is we can learn from people that we support. We're going to get growth. It needs to be a two-way street to some extent.
Yeah, it's so true. Like you get zero fulfillment in the stuff that you were talking about. It's like great, but what you're chatting about it can absolutely apply in the risk management industry.
Well, do you think the difference, and I'll maybe pose this one to you a little bit too, is that we don't, in the insurance industry, we have not created our own value propositions. We've talked about this, but
it's price.
Yeah, it's price or product, and because of that, we're not looking for somebody that we want to say no to. We'll take anybody, but I think that when you do that over time, as you grow a book, you realize that those people you should have said no to are the ones eating your time up. Mm-hmm. They're the ones that you go home at night pulling your hair out. You're stressed out about. You lay awake at night, and they're just not as enjoyable as somebody you're talking about that you align in values. They're the right personality for you. Yeah. They want to get to where you want to go. And so maybe the question there that I'd have for you is, how do you go about truly deeply understanding that up front? And is that the BD team? Is that you, or how is that?
It's the great work of our business development team. They have an understanding of the type of people that we want to work with, that we want to help support, the types of organizations and leaders that we want to look at. It goes back to people that have, I'll use the again, cliche term, growth mindset. People that want to get better, people that want to grow and develop. Our Accelerate Leadership program is 18 months of great content, behavior change, and development. It's not a fix. And if we have somebody that's like, well, I'll throw somebody into this program that, it's like, can you fix my employee?
Yeah.
That's the wrong approach. Not saying that we can't help that person develop, but you've got to come in with the right mind to grow and develop during that time through the process that we take somebody through, and be open and be vulnerable. And I think that's a big fit factor for us is people that are vulnerable. Leaders coming to us, and it might be a hard thing to say, we don't know all the answers. Well, nobody ever really knows all the answers.
Yeah.
What do you need help and support with? Let's guide you through that, and you're going to have great things that you're doing. We aren't there to fix everything or change an entire organization. That's so much, there's movies and, you look at Office Space or whatever it is, and it's the Bobs and all that stuff that happens, and it's like they're here to change everything. No, we're here to figure out, what are you doing well? Let's fine tune it. Let's take you to that next level where you want to go, and recognize the things that you're crushing right now.
Yeah. So maybe switching gears just a little bit here on, it's hard to quantify. I shouldn't even say it like that. Well, it's hard to get an industry, we found, to transition to what I'll consider like value-based relationships or selling, whatever you want to call it. Okay. So, there's comfort to a buyer knowing that they're going to pay X amount, it's going to be the cheapest price, and they're going to get something, albeit it's a policy that says, here's what we're going to do in the event that something happens.
Yeah.
But they feel like they get something in return. If you're sitting in a young, or we always use the example of a young risk manager who's trying to think differently about it, and they're going out and just selling their advice. They have expertise that they can help consult a business with, their knowledge. Like, how do you articulate your value of that advice or, knowledge to an ROI? Or how do you get a business owner to be like, okay, after 18 months, I'm going to get what? Yeah. And is it worth it?
Yeah.
And I have a feeling you're going to tell me all that work's done up front, but I'd be curious to hear your thoughts, because I think we have a hard time wrapping people's minds around that.
It's interesting because the world we live in right now is so much around this idea of instant gratification. What are you going to do, and how is it going to impact me tomorrow? Not much is going to probably change in a day.
Yeah.
So on the strategy side, let's use that as an example. When we partner with someone, we ask for a 24-month commitment to the process, because it's going to take time to cascade things down into your organization, to get your leadership team aligned, to figure out where you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
Are you just driven by revenue? Is that all you're chasing? Are you an entrepreneurial company whose main goal is to increase value to the point where you can sell in 3, 4, 5 years? What does that look like? Are you an organization who just prides themselves on culture, and revenue's okay, but you really want to increase your profit and grow there? So the challenge that I give back is I meet with the leadership teams as we try to see, is strategy the right place for them to go? What does success look like? Yeah. What is the true north? What's that vision? Mm-hmm. Because helping them get there is the ROI. Yeah. Helping them understand that and be able to incrementally change things and solve issues along the way. There's too many people that I meet that say, I started this business and it was great, and then we grew, and now I have to deal with people.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do.
You kind of do. Yeah.
People are going to help your business grow or help your business
I was going to say, and who helped you get there?
Yeah. So it's those types of things. I'll equate it to taking the noise out. How do we help you focus on where you should be? There was a old story, and I don't know where it came from. I don't know who to give credit for this, but I saw it on social media one day, and it was this idea of how do you capture a monkey in the wild? And the way that you approach it is you take a coconut and you cut a small hole in the top of the circle, you hollow it out, and you put food inside. And when the monkey walks up, it sticks its hand in the coconut and it grabs onto that. And as you walk towards the monkey, it should just let go of the food and it can run free. Well, what it does is it actually tries harder and harder to get the food out to where you can just walk up and pick up the monkey. And it's like, silly monkey, let go of the food and you're free. Mm-hmm. Well, the way that I ask the question is, what's in your coconut? And it's a little corny, but it's, what are those things that you're focusing on that you need to let go of to be free to focus on what you should? Mm-hmm. And so many leaders have a hard time delegating, passing on, understanding what should the structure be 6, 12 months from now. Yeah. It's all of that work that we do throughout the process that's really the ROI for them, of making their lives better, getting them to the point they want to be in the organization, and really chasing what that view of success is, but with some metrics that we'll put in place along the way.
I think there's so much of that applies in our industry.
I was literally just thinking the same thing.
When you have,
not to our clients even, or to our clients, but to our industry.
Yeah, because, again, another significant challenge that we face in our industry is that, agents, producers, whatever you want to call them, risk managers will build their businesses in silos, right? Yeah. Of them. They're their books. They build books, right? And it's a completely different mindset if you want to take that and build an enterprise, build a business. And it takes what you're talking about, right? Because you have to have that mindset of, okay, I'm not going to be able to work on the business and in the business at the same time.
Yep.
So you got to have faith and a plan, and probably somebody like you standing there saying, yeah, okay, work on the business.
Yep.
Your ROI is going to come, but it's going to look different, and it might take longer, but here's the payoff.
Yeah. Or
Like-
it might be shorter because you're acting with more clarity.
Yeah.
Well, that's true
I mean,
too.
The old adage of strategic planning. Let's put together a 30-page document, right? Get everything out. Let's do a SWOT analysis and let's be done. And then what does it do? It sits on the shelf. You
Collects
don't go
dust.
back to it.
Mhm.
What we're trying to do and what we do is create a living, breathing document that you function from, because it's going to change. You're going to get knocked down. COVID was a great
Yep.
indicator of that for everybody. We went through it. But because the people that we had a GPS to work through and follow and come back to and understand the priorities,
Yeah.
they continue to hit their goals. Well, okay, that's a great advantage. So how do we help other people do that? And
Yeah.
how do we help understand what are the leading indicators? Because when you think about selling, yeah, revenue is great, outcome is great, but what energy and effort are you putting into it on the front end?
Right.
Do you have the target number of people you need to reach out to? Do you know your return on that? Let's understand more of your scoreboard, your scorecard that helps you identify those things. And we have to break down silos. I've seen it happen too many times. It's like a hair salon. You can go into a building and everybody owns their own chair.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They share
I was
a
wondering where you were
building.
going with that.
But that's all they're there for.
Yeah.
It's a common space where everybody does their own thing.
Yeah.
Great teams, great organizations don't have those silos.
Yeah.
And whether it's an organization or an athletic department, it happens all over the place. If you're doing similar things, whether it's, just use the example, if you have a football coach, a rowing coach, a soccer coach, and a baseball coach all in the same room, they have commonalities to talk about. Talking about team culture, talking about building things,
Yeah.
growing and developing and handling issues within the team. I don't care about the X's and O's. They have the meaningful things that help drive the team culture and the organization forward. Same thing in business. But we get people that are so locked into their day-to-day, they don't share their best practices or how they interact or how did you build this book? Could you help me? We get too focused in our lane to grow and put strategy in place.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a lot. I mean, there's just a lot there to unpack with everything. I think, we always try to relate it to the advisor on listening to the show and how they can help their client. I hope everybody listening is starting to take away things for your own business that, you can be doing, because there's so much in there that can help you get to the next level or whatever your goals are. And one thing you said in there, or a couple things that you might expand on a little bit. You mentioned the GPS, which I know you guys do very well with companies. Maybe just explain that concept a little bit further. Because again, I think everybody listening on the show should have something like this in their own business.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about let's call it your pinnacle, what's your mountaintop? Where are you heading? And how do you share that with everybody? I got an incredible client who I work with 7 different locations, and we would support their corporate leadership as well. And they devote so much time and energy into sharing that common vision throughout the organization from top to bottom. And it's identifying, what does that look like? Again, could be 5, 10 years from now, but do we know that? And the truth is, it's going to be our best educated guess that we can put in place to say, this is where we want to go. Some companies are a little bit better at figuring that out.
Yep.
Some are just starting out and they're unsure what the future looks like. But we have to set that course. And again, then we can back into things, because we can say, if this is where we're going to be 5 years from now, what does it look like 3 years? What does it look like then at a year? And then how do we take our main year goals, our objectives, and break those down quarterly?
Into tactical.
Yeah, so that we can put a focus and understand where we need to put our time and energy. Because we will always get caught up in our day-to-day. We'll lose focus. We'll chase that next new thing or that next new idea. And it happens so much, especially if we have a great visionary in a company that's got lots of ideas. They come in. We all know these people. They come in and 1 week this is the future of the company. And then they come in the next week. Never mind. This is the future of the company. How do we mitigate that? How do we make sure the vision of the company, the future of the company is consistent, it's aligned, and if we do divert, it's for a purpose, and we adjust and we tweak our priorities here and there.
Yeah, I may be guilty of that. Hey, I listened to a podcast last night, and we need to be doing this.
Yeah, we have to fish through some.
Elliot's famous for, he reads more books than anybody I know. I try to keep up with him. I can't. He's like, "Brah, I'm reading this book right now, and you would believe it. Here's what we got to do." I'm like, dude.
He finally told me one time, he's like, dude, we just need to pick one. And let's just go with that.
Okay, can we just implement one book, and then let's talk.
There's a key there, though, because we as human beings, for some reason, like to create complexity.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be simple. We think that everything that
should be harder than it is.
Yeah, and that's the objective, really, that I try to work on with partners is let's just simplify. Let's simplify what you're trying to do. Mm-hmm. Simplicity brings clarity. And if we have clarity, we can all be working together to accomplish what our goal is. Yeah.
How do you handle that with an individual? Because, there's people that I know that, like, making this shift from a transactional based business, if you will, going to an advisory based practice, they think mentally it's way more difficult than it is. Like, if you break it down on paper, it's not that tough. And you get done having that conversation and you're like, yeah, man, I don't know if I can do that. Like, I have so much stuff to do. You should hear my email dings going off all day. Like, I got to take care of this client. Well, and then I've set expectations with that client about how I do business like that. And I just can't do it, Ryan.
Personal responsibility is a hard thing. And when there's ambiguity in our day, we shy away from it at times. I've seen it happen with the student athletes that I got to spend a lot of time working with, and then I realized it's almost a pandemic itself in the working world, and people will call it the millennial thing. I think it's greater than that, but when you think about our lives, when you start out and you go to school, you're told when to show up, you're told what to do. It's transactional, like you talked about. It's all the point of here's everything you need to do, here's when it's due, here's what you need to learn, here's how you need to do it. Then we go to college and we get our syllabus and we're told here's the test and what's going to be on the test and what to study. And then somebody comes into a role or takes a position in an organization and it's like, all right, help us be successful. What do you want me to do?
Yeah.
Could you help me?
It's so true.
Well, I just read my job description and it said that I need to do...
Yeah, and how do I do it?
Yeah.
And that's the interesting part is we get people into an organization and they don't have the idea of how to go be successful. Now, some do. Some people go crush it. But some people are going to be uncomfortable with that. So how do we mentor? How do we onboard? How do we put a process, and that's part of strategy, in place to help get people up and running? But if they're going to go into a role that has a little bit more ambiguity, how do we help coach them? How do we help them set boundaries or accountability for themselves? Because it's easy to push our own stuff to the side and pick up those daily tasks and feel accomplished, or really just busy.
Here's the thing that hit me when you were saying that is that if you go out and you hire rock stars, let's pretend that you got a shit show internally, but you're really good at finding really good people, and you bring them in. And they're like, okay, I'll help you be successful. They'll go be successful, but they'll do it their way. Yeah. Outside of your North Star, what you create. Yeah, and then here we are. 5 years later, and it's like, number one sales guy in the company, but you've brought on nothing but crap. Or stuff that doesn't fit the model, or it's so far outside of what we want to, or maybe it's not, but maybe we've had to tailor the company to that guy or gal because they're killing it. Yeah. I mean, there's just so many issues that I was like,
it comes to, do they fit the model that you have and how you want to go towards that true north? right? That pinnacle.
Yeah.
And if they're working outside that, how often are we checking in on that? Most organizations that I talk with do a performance review once a year if they find the time to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then people will look at a performance review, and what happens when you have to walk into a performance review? A lot of people don't sleep the night before. There's anxiety, there's worry, because what are you going to do? You're going to come in and you're just going to talk about, what did I screw up? And if you do it once a year, what are you really focused on when they come in? Probably the last 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah.
You forget all the stuff that they did throughout the year.
It's just a formality.
So that's why who first is so important, because if we understand that true north, but we're focused on growing, developing, coaching, guiding our people, we keep them locked in on the processes. We have to have good core processes to help support them. We want to let people run and still be themselves, be authentic. But if they follow the process, they're going to be that much more successful because we know that process works. So we have to develop those. And they're going to bring insight and help us tweak and adjust over time in the right way. But if they're out here just doing their thing, are they really a part of your organization and your culture? Probably not.
Yeah.
So we also have to live our core values. They can't just be the words on the wall. They have to be foundational. Our core values should help us hire, fire, and develop. And people should align with our values when they're in our organizations.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that's exactly right. And if you're listening, I think you can apply a lot of these things to your own business, right? And then apply them and think about them towards your client's business. And if you are having these discussions with a client, the good news is we talk all the time, you can be that quarterback, bring in somebody like Andy and their team at Leadership Resources or whomever you may know to help guide that discussion, because I think it's so important in businesses. And it ultimately dictates the risk management strategy, or it should. Because we got to know where companies are going in order to build an effective strategy, right? So, we're at time. Big Al's giving me the signal. We appreciate it, man. That was fun.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, good ones go fast. So I can't believe it's already been 30 minutes. But
All right. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
See ya.
Thank you for tuning in to Getting Past the Premium. We are excited to continue breaking down barriers and finding solutions together. If you would like to reach out regarding anything you heard in today's episode, find links and contact info in the description. Until next time, have a great day, and let's continue getting past the premium.